Welcome to Discograffiti, the deep dive podcast for music obsessives that gives freaks like you and me the chance to connect with a brotherhood obsessed with rating the entire discography of every single artist and band that ever mattered. I'm your host, Dave Gebroe, and with 3 new episodes each week, you're going to gain a comprehensive knowledge of an act's history and output in the time it takes to listen to one album. Each new guest swings a hard left into an area you either had no idea you needed to know about or know all about and can't believe you're not alone out there. And in this episode, we'll be turning our spray cans on Spirit! Psst, along with our special guest, band biographer Ryan Gabrinetti. This is part 2, which covers the dizzyingly busy period of 1968 to 1969, during which Spirit became a big touring concern while simultaneously working on far too many projects at once. Here are just a few of the many things that Ryan discusses with Discograffiti in this podcast. The crazed madness of making 2 albums and a soundtrack basically all at once. How Spirit wound up creating and releasing their hit single, I Got a Line on You. The evolution of their relationship with Lou Adler. And an in-depth deep dive on every song off The Family That Plays Together, Clear, and the Model Shop soundtrack. Coming up, we've got incredible deep dive series on Lenny Waronker, Love, Jefferson Airplane, and a hell of a lot more. So don't miss out. Open up your listening app right now and subscribe. So the next release was a year later, because that, I don't think we mentioned, but the first album came out January 22nd, 1968. And right. Then in November of 68 is their next release, and it was a single. So I Got a Line on You is arguably their most famous song ever. And it came out a month before album number 2. It became their biggest hit single. It reached number 25 on the charts, number 28 in Canada. And then the album kind of matched its success. You're right. It topped the first album. It reached number 22, which that I believe is the highest ranking album that they ever had. It is not their best album, I think, but it was also, I'm guessing by the recording dates, which is March 11th through September 18th of 1968, that this was a piecemeal affair in between dates that they were playing on tour.
Yeah. So there's some really important context for this record, which, we'll cover more with the later releases. But first of all, Got a Line on You is the first or second song that was recorded for this album. In between that happening and this album getting released, they hooked up with the director Jacques Demy, the French director, to do a soundtrack for their movie, which was Model Shop. But I know we'll get to Model Shop, but the important thing is that this record was made at the same time as another record. So like most of this year, like you said, there's a lot of scattered dates, but they're essentially making 2 albums at the same time. Right. And like what we kind of covered a little bit before is like there was a lot of pressure on them to make hits. I think that the element of commercial appeal really increased for them, and at the same time of like doing their own thing, and like the Model Shop thing is very different. So
let me ask you then, when they got into the studio to work on this record specifically, what do you believe was the mood? Had the mood changed a lot from the first record? Were they exhausted? Were they feeling nervous? Were they feeling excited? And did they feel like they were really going to kick this record's ass? What was the vibe?
I think that the vibe was fairly good overall. I think that, they had a steady sort of progression where like they never did, the original band at least, never did a lot of like 2-month-long grueling tours. Like once they got signed, they were doing like weekend dates. They would get flown out to do things, and like a lot of it was based on the radio success of Mechanical World and like wherever that was happening. They were definitely in a creative period, because when you put together everything that they recorded in the studio in 1968, it's a lot. It's fucking dizzying. A lot. It's dizzy because you're talking about flying out to do shows in a weekend, coming back, you're in the studio maybe for a day or 2 at a time, and then you're going back out, and then it's just they're on the train.
Yeah. I got to tell you, I hear the exhaustion in the music. Not just this record. Everything that they did in 68, I'm hearing a bunch of tired guys.
Yeah, I mean, there are some fantastic moments. I mean, I think this is one of those places that we disagree. I love the family that plays together. Like, if anything, like, I think that was probably the first of their albums that I really latched onto for not just the material, but for the flow.
Let's put the needle down, because I'm anxious to get into the disparity. So I'm fully on board for the first 2 or 3 songs. So I Got a Line on You. There's a Billboard review that called it the near definitive rock single. And it's actually very hard to argue that. As far as rock and roll goes, they never really topped this. And I believe that, and I could be wrong, but JoJo Gunn seems to be a response that Jay Ferguson had of like, why can't we just stay in this lane?
Yeah, I mean, the whole creation of Got a Line on You is pretty fascinating for comparison's sake.
Because as soon as it kicks in, the change is immediately apparent. It sounds like a whole different band. It's very dryly recorded. It's punchy. It's rock based. Yeah. It even includes an almost 1950s based guitar solo with group choral background vocals and a soaring lead. So what accounted for that change?
Well, it's funny because like Lou, basically threw down the gauntlet and said, you guys need to write a hit single. And Randy sat down and said, I'm going to write a hit single.
Okay.
And this is what he came up with. Barry Hansen is a part of this too. There's like some elements of the song, I think, in like some of the background vocals that he helped contribute to that. It's about palm reading. It's about like, found your line. And I think that Jay and Mark had a little bit of a problem with that because of how esoteric that is. And granted, it's not, you don't think about it. Hit singles have lots of, weird nonsensical things that they say. I got a line. It's so catchy.
Honestly, while they were writing "Shake That Fat," they could have used a little bit of esoteric as well, I think.
Well, yeah, that
is one of the least esoteric bands that ever walked the face of the earth. All right, that concludes your free sneak peek into today's bonus episode. If you want to hear the rest of it, just visit patreon.com/discograffiti and either purchase this podcast by itself for $4 or better yet, subscribe at the major tier and get access to Discograffiti's 3 weekly episodes. That's Friday's main episode, the Sunday Discograffiti Soldiers of Sound podcast. That's our podcast within a podcast featuring Patreon members as guests, and your Tuesday bonus episode. Please keep in mind this is entirely how I support my wife and 7-year-old son, so don't risk feeling badly about yourself by not supporting Discograffiti. Become a member so you don't miss a single thing at patreon.com/discograffiti.